What do you do on those days where you just don't feel like working? Hey guys, Mike here from Sell Your Service. Thank you so much for joining me on another video. This is actually me going over a blog post that I wrote back in 2017, which feels like a billion years ago now, where essentially I wrote a post saying, what do you do on those days where you just cannot face work? It's been a crazy few years, not just for me, but for the entire planet. And I thought it was interesting that this is now one of our most popular blog posts. So I wanted to go over it again in an video format or audio format to talk through a couple of the misconceptions. If you want to check out the full article, go ahead to the description down below. It was published in 2017. If you Google what to do when you don't feel like working, or on the site, sorry, if you head to the blog and use the search function, but like I said, I'll put the description down below. I think I'm guilty of perpetuating this hustle, grind, 100% motivation, go for it mentality. It's very difficult to look at someone and say, well, they're constantly doing work and they're constantly pushing work. I'm only speaking objectively. I get this sent to me a lot. I get it sent a lot as messages, as emails, as comments, like, my God, you're so motivated. How do you keep going? There's some big drawbacks to that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing to be or a healthy thing to be. I don't wake up every day excited to get to work. I don't wake up pumped and motivated. I'm not one of those people that like wakes up and goes, oh, let's do this. I don't do that at all. I'm sluggish, I'm slow, I hate the cold. I want to get back into bed. I have to keep my phone, which is my alarm, in a separate room. So our bedroom is down the hall, but I have to keep my phone in here. Otherwise, I know I'll turn it off and go, beep, I'm not interested. Now that's very different to those days where you really are feeling completely unmotivated. And I used to think, hey, if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. As in, but almost a bit aggressively, like to say, you know, don't be weak. But since going through a lot of different health problems, I have become a bit more humble in that respect. I apologize to anyone who has ever felt that they should be working harder or working more because other people think that it's good for them. I'm still a firm believer that a successful person is successful because they do the things that other people don't want to do. When I wake up and I drag myself down to the gym or I drag myself out for a run, I'm not happy about it, but I know that that's what needs to be done at the time. But there are days, and there certainly have been in the last couple of years, like with everyone, where I've woken up and I've thought, I genuinely don't give a flying fuck about this business right now. Longer term, if that's happening consistently, you've probably got a deeper problem at play. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm definitely not anything like that. But if you find yourself constantly unhappy, it's probably not the job. It's probably something deeper inside you that needs to be addressed. I have found repeatedly that people who are very short or snappy or aggressive or pissed off or depressed in that respect have actually got something that they're very unhappy with that typically relates back to they're living a life that they aren't happy with or that they don't want. The best example I've got of this is a colleague of mine who did 3 or 4 years of medical school because his parents told him to, and he was fucking miserable. He didn't look miserable because he was constantly going out partying, getting drunk, and we would do a lot of drugs together until it all culminated that he didn't want to be a doctor, but he was training to be a doctor because his sister was a doctor, his parents were doctors and nurses, and he was kind of expected to go down that route and live a life which other people thought was right for him. That will kill you. It is better off to be alone and miserable because you're following something that is true to you than alone and miserable and following something that's not true to you. Because at least this one, that the juice could be worth the squeeze. And the problem is that what he really wanted to do was work in marketing. I talk about this in my book. He really wanted to work in marketing and sales. He liked that environment. He liked that way of working. He liked the people. But obviously, going from medicine to that, he was probably looked down on. I know that I've been looked down on for being in sales. And that was a very difficult decision for him to make. But he knew that it was better in a really sick way to make other people unhappy because he can't control that. He can't control how other people feel at all. Ever. You have no control over how other people feel. So if you're living your life to make other people happy or to try and sate what they think is right, and it makes you unhappy, that will end in a very unhappy life. Yeah, I would argue health problems. But it's also worth noting that it's not because you're deeply depressed. I love what I do. I love working my team, but not every day I'm super pumped and motivated. Here's just a couple of the things that I do when I wake up and I'm like, genuinely can't face work today. The first thing I do is I take it one step at a time. What I have found most of the time is I think I don't want to work today because I have a list behind me here of 29 billion things that need to get done. I'm looking at the whole elephant. I'm looking at the whole elephant and going, how in the hell am I going to eat this thing? What I've found is that typically eating one small chunk at a time is all that what matters. When I first got back to work after being sick, I was facing some pretty heavy, like, I wouldn't call it anxiety, but I was certainly getting worried. I was like, oh my God, I've got so much to do. I haven't been at work for ages. The team is going to be completely like, they're going to be light years ahead of me. I've got all these things I wanted to do. And so I sat down. This is what Liv made me do. She sat down and she was like, just write out everything. It turns out there were about 4 things on the list. The problem is that the human brain is a really good record and capture machine. It will basically record something and play it over, record something, play it over, record something, play it over. In fact, there have been studies that show if you play someone white noise, like just that kind of sound, if you tell them at some point you're going to hear White Christmas, the song White Christmas, I want you to press the button when you hear it, roughly 50 to 30% of people will press the button saying, I've heard it, even though it was never played during a white noise. We're really good at internalizing our own thoughts and then believing them to be true and just playing them over and 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 over. It's very good from a survival standpoint, not so good from an anxiety standpoint. So if you just write those things down and go, oh, I've actually only got 4 things to do, and then just take one of them, you don't even have to prioritize. Just take one of them and go, that's the thing I'm going to work on. What's the first thing I need to do on that? And I ignore everything else. 99% of the time, I've found that if I'm overwhelmed or can't be bothered to work, it's because I haven't got those things prioritized. So that's what I like to push off my plate. The second thing I do is if I genuinely don't feel like working, if I am in, for whatever reason, a depressive state, and it happens, your health, ill health, the weather, sunshine, all of this stuff can sometimes just push everything out to the side and just your body goes, I really am not capable of doing this. And you go, fine. Here's the number one thing that you need to do. And this, in my opinion, is the biggest mistake that people make. If you're not going to do any work, don't do any work. What I find a lot of people do is they say, I can't be bothered to do any work, so I'm just going to sit with my laptop and kind of mess around and goof around and check out Facebook and answer a few emails and do some bits and pieces and stuff. That's killer. Because that's an easier habit to slide into rather than doing nothing. My mum, when my brother and I were much younger, if we didn't want to do something, what she would do is put us in a room with nothing in it. If we were like, no, we don't want to tidy our room. No, we don't want to go for a walk. No, we don't want to do this. We obviously wanted to go play like video games and stuff, right? But if she was like, you have to go out and do some exercise, go for a walk, tidy your room, eat dinner with us, whatever, she would put us in a room, obviously we were younger, with nothing in it, where we couldn't entertain ourselves. And it was really interesting because after about 15 minutes, we were like, oh my God, we'll do anything. She was like, cool, let's go for a walk. And we were desperate to do that thing. It's also like a sort of semi-meditation practice, whereby if you get someone to sit still in a room with no like visual stimuli or audio or any of that shit. It's why I don't personally believe in like meditation apps. I think it completely eliminates the point. Learning how to meditate is one thing, but meditating with an app, in my opinion, is like completely fucking missing the point. But anyway, to sit there and to do nothing for 20 minutes is one of the hardest things to do. People think it'll be easy, and if anything, they go, what a waste of time. But I promise you, 20 minutes will crawl by. And you'll go, I will do literally anything to break this. I go, great. Go write a sales letter then. And I'll go, fine. If you're not going to work, don't work. If you're not going to do anything, don't do anything at all. Leave it and stay the hell away from those tasks. And either you'll give yourself a genuine reset and break and you'll go, oh, good. I would also try to avoid watching TV for the entire day. It sounds counterintuitive. If you're feeling rough and feeling low, now if you're ill, obviously relax and help recover. But if you're feeling unmotivated, don't do something like consuming content. Sit doing nothing for 20 minutes. No stimulus, no podcasts, no music, nothing. Sit in a quiet room by yourself looking like a mentalist. If you live in a normal household where that's not possible, sit in the car, tell people I need to have a 20 minutes of quiet time. If you've got kids, and I understand, I don't fucking understand. I haven't got kids. How could I possibly understand? But if you're struggling with this aspect, I promise you, finding 20 minutes of silence at some point is more important and will help your motivation and productivity way more than trying to avoid it and trying to go after other stuff. This leads me on to point number 3. Take the day off, dude. Just take the day off. Go do something else. Like, if it genuinely gets to the point where you're like, I still am not really feeling this, take the day off, man. Exercise immediately, go for a walk, do something physical, even if you don't want to, even if it's just light stretching. The difference in how your brain works when there's blood moving around your body is exponential. If you genuinely feel, fuck, I'm done, I can't be dealing with this anymore, then take the day off. There's nothing wrong with that. Stop beating yourself up. Chances are you don't manufacture oxygen, so you probably don't need to keep working in order to keep people alive. No one's going to die if you give it up for a day. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need a genuine day of rest. But what that means is, as I mentioned, don't do any work. Don't say, well, I'll have an easy day of work. That's very different from an actual day off. And ideally, even during times where we're in lockdowns and all this kind of shit, you need to be or doing something else. It's easy to say, requires discipline, and I apologize if a lot of stuff that sounds very trite. If you have tips on how you deal with days where you just don't feel like working, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to read them and I'd love to check those out. As I mentioned, I have got a blog post which I'll put down below. If you want to learn what my daily routine is and how I stay motivated all the time, check out this video here, because I do talk about breaking things up into chunks, making sure I'm only working a certain set number of hours a day. In the meantime, I will see you in another video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Have courage, commit, and take action. Cheers, guys.